Hello everyone, welcome back to On Location with Zara Durrani. I'm your host Zara Durrani and you're watching on Story Hive. Today joining me is someone who is very inspiring. She has certainly played a pivotal role in my career, and because of her, I was able to connect with my camera operator, Julian, who we've worked together for quite some time. She is the founder of Vancouver Asian Film Festival. She recently did this amazing weekend summit, East by Northwest, Racial Equity Screen Office, and also Eliminate Hate. She's been involved in our local community here for the last 25 years and has helped many local Asian artists. I'm talking about none other than Barbara Lee, who I'm so honored to have her here on our red couch, join us again and to dig deep, talking about everything related to diversity, creativity, and promoting more racial equity on screen. Thank you so much, Barbara.
Thanks for having me, Zara.
My pleasure. Now, other than that, you're also a filmmaker, also with a background in journalism. Like the list just goes on, and then also a mom. Like you have, when do you sleep, Barbara? When do you sleep? When do you eat? You have a full plate.
I do have a full plate, but you make time. Busy people get things done, so yes. And trying to do it all well.
Congratulations on a successful weekend. East by Northwest was just happening. I felt so inspired the whole weekend. It was an honor to be there, to be the host for the closing gala, but I got a chance to attend the weekend and listen to many panel discussions and the amazing keynote speech by Shannon Lee. How does it feel to know that you helped put this together and brought all these creators, all these racialized creatives, artists, filmmakers from all over, like not just Canadian, not just like locally here. They came in from different parts of the world. How does that feel?
Well, it felt really, when you're leading up to it, you're just in survival mode and you wonder, will it happen? How will it will what I had in my mind actually be executed in real life? And it was amazing to see I think the best thing that people were talking about afterwards, the term that they were using was, they just felt joy. They learned so much, but they felt like they were centered. Racialized creatives were the center of the conversations. They didn't have to explain it. They didn't have to go on about, being a racialized creative. They just talked about their life and their stories and what they needed to work in this industry.
That's amazing. Now, when did you first decide that you wanted to create East by Northwest? Because not like you don't have enough on your plate. Like between RESO, between VAFF and MAM, the Mighty Asian Movie Making Marathon, and Eliminate Hate, and having a family, you have a lot of projects, a lot of things on the go. When did you decide you wanted to create East by Northwest?
Well, it was just an evolution. I would say 27 years ago, I started the Vancouver Asian Film Festival, and really what I wanted to do was give a place for the community to come together and make content, films, shorts, so that they could tell the stories, our stories authentically, and be in front and behind the camera. Because representation nobody was really talking about it then, but representation is always the core of what VAFF does. And so over the years, we had no funding, very little funding. We were just bootstrapped every year, just trying to get it. But the community came together because they really felt the need to tell their stories, to tell their truths. And so we did all we could, and people would give their times, their weekends, their lunch hours, their holiday time to get VAFF to happen. And over the years, we survived and thrived. And then there was only so much that film festival could do, and we were doing a lot of advocacy work. And in 2017, the board had a visioning workshop, and we identified that we needed a national organization to spin out the advocacy work that VAFF was doing. Talking to policymakers and politicians and people who were making high level decisions on what gets funded, what gets shown, what gets exported. And so, of course, we didn't have the funding for it. And then 2020 happened, with the murder of Breonna. Oh my gosh, I'm having a meltdown. With, George Floyd and Breonna Taylor, and then all the COVID that was happening and the rise in anti-Asian racism. And so it became where the community was being harmed. The Asian community was being harmed. VAFF had a platform. We reached out to community groups and said, look, we have this platform, please use us. What can we do? We will amplify messages. We will do what we can to help the community. And unfortunately, a lot of the community groups were stretched thin already. They had other things that, priorities that they had to meet. So at that moment, our board said, okay, we can't be silent. We can't just sit back. And so we decided to launch Eliminate Hate. Eliminate Hate was an advocacy arm of VAFF to use the arts and media to amplify the message that our community was under attack, that we were being harmed, and we were going to offer space for people to report the incidences that they were experiencing, the anti-Asian racism that they were experiencing. We gave them an alternative to reporting to police, because sometimes these incidences were not at a level that was prosecutable. So often when they go to the police, they feel re-victimized because they have to go through the whole trauma again, and then they're told that there's nothing they can do about it. So we wanted to give people an alternative where they're heard. We wanted those numbers. So we worked with Project 1907, who then worked with the Chinese Canadian National Coalition out of Toronto, and combined all the reports that we had. And it showed that BC was per capita had the highest incidences of anti-Asian racist, attacks.
And I heard recently in Chinatown here, like while I was away, there was, this weekend-long event, beautiful, inspiring.
Yeah. The Light Up Chinatown event had somebody attack. I don't know if that's a racist attack. I think that was more of a mental health. Mm-hmm. That was a mental health and the failing. But the point of that, I would say, is that Chinatown is often, a scapegoat for other bigger societal issues. So that's what I would say I would take away from that. That we're not supported, and therefore things can happen, and when they do happen, they're not seen as that important. And that's why we needed to amplify. And I really applaud Carol Lee for going and Jordaning to really say, hey, this is not acceptable. We need to feel safe in our own community.
Now, I really admire the responsibility you've shouldered, that you've taken on behalf of the community. And I feel like, also VAFF came first before VSAF. VAFF is the first festival of its kind in Canada.
Yes.
And you helped open doors for many of us, not just like all of Asian, because quite often, it's like people are like Pakistani or Indian, and it's that, no, we're all in Asia. We're all, because my first film, straight out of film school, I did a MAM project, and then one of my films that I was the lead in, it was a short, it went to VAFF, and then that's how I got a chance to meet you and interview you, and I was doing my first show. So, you've opened doors for so many people, like myself, like connecting me and Julian. You must have heard so many amazing, successful stories of whether it was getting inspired to make their first film or directorial debut, or deciding to take a leap into the arts, or connecting with someone through a conversation, because this is how this happened.
Yeah.
What does it feel like for you, Barbara, the fact that you're helping create this platform, like not just one platform, now several platforms that are opening doorways and opportunities for hundreds and thousands?
Well, I think I don't go into it thinking about, I just feel this, I guess it's a calling. I feel like this is what's needed. People are telling me, oh, I'm having these issues, I'm having these barriers. And so I'm always thinking about problem solving. Like, okay, well then what do we need? If this is a barrier for people, what is needed? And that's why when you talk about all the different things that I've sort of launched, it's not because I went out saying, oh, it would be great. It's because of the need of the community that have talked to me. And I was thinking, okay, well, what is in my bag of resources, or what do I have? What skills do I have? And who do I know that could help? Because it's not, for me, it's, I'm a filmmaker, and a lot of my own personal projects I've had to put on the side and not really focus on because the community work has sort of taken precedent and priority. But for me, it's my one success is not as satisfying as seeing so many successes. So just recently we had MAM 18, which is the Mighty Asian Movie Making Marathon. And that I launched that with Peter Leung because around 2004, we were noticing that there was a drop in the submissions for films. And we were thinking, oh, does this mean that people are having a difficult time making their films? Like, how can we help to make sure? It was sort of, a couple of things. We wanted to ensure that there'll always be films coming into VAFF. We wanted to make sure. And then we also wanted to help the artists because you can't get the funding unless you have that first film or that calling card film to say, hey, this is what I've done. You can have faith that I can do another project. Mm-hmm. And that's what we wanted to help the filmmakers. And then we wanted to give people an idea because the Asian community, the families are not that supportive of the arts and film and television because they don't see a path. They didn't see people who look like ourselves in the industry. So they didn't want their kids to be struggling. They struggle so much at their own, so a lot of the immigrant stories, they come here, they struggle so much to build a better life for their kids. They don't want them to go in an industry that they will just struggle and be excluded again. So those are kind of things we were like, okay, so then we have to work on the industry. We have to make it more inviting. We have to show the parents that they should be supporting their children in the path that they want, especially in the arts. So we decided, well, let's do a competition, 10 days, 7 days at the time. We were lucky enough to get Prem Gill, who was at Omni, to give us City TV, she was at City TV, and she gave us some funding to start it. And we launched it, and over the years, it was just the talent pool was unbelievable. The people have come through. I tell the story that probably 80% of anybody who's in the industry has come through VAM. Either been on the set to just even do craft services or something. People like Jeff Chan, who is the director of Code 8 television show. Somebody dragged him on to do a MAM. He didn't even know he wanted to work in this industry, and now he's a director on on a television show So yes, it is really satisfying. And this year, MAM 18, we just had that end of August. I was sitting in the theater looking at the big screen, and I was so proud. I was like a proud mama with all the films, the quality of the films, the way the filmmakers and the crew handled themselves, so professional, so articulate, just really knew what they wanted and was going for it. And I was just like, wow, it was so amazing to see. In 18 years, and I said when I did my speech, I said, they are now legal. They can vote. Now, it was 18 years. I can't believe, and it shows. It was like graduation day, and the films that we saw and everybody I talked to was blown away with the level of quality. The level of quality, storytelling, everything was top notch. And I also say in 2020, our winner of MAM went on and got into TIFF.
Oh, wow.
So we are really an incubator. We nurture, we mentor, we bring in people in the industry, and we really break down the process so that they get hands-on experience in a safe space, because the sets are all racialized. It's a space where they don't have to explain themselves, they just all get it.
I love that. I'm also getting, while talking to you and having you here, because I haven't seen you in person since East by Northwest, getting some flashbacks of, you know, some of the conversations that were had with Shannon Lee. Like, what was it like getting her on board? Like, that was, you know, all the tables were full, the room was packed, and we were all hanging on to every word that she was saying, and what a moving and inspiring keynote address.
Yes. You know, I always talk about the work that I do. I feel like it's, when I was planning East by Northwest, I didn't really know who our keynote speaker would be. I was able to, you know, meet with Bing Chen and Jeremy Tran from Gold House, who are amazing, doing amazing work.
And
elevating.
his speech on the opening night was gold.
Yeah, he's unbelievable. He is such a sought after speaker, and he just electrifies a room anywhere he goes. And Jeremy the same, just so thoughtful but inspiring and aspiring. And so we wanted to make a gold stage. So East by Northwest, we actually had the gold stage in honor of all the work that, you know, Gold House does, and we wanted to partner and build this and work on more opportunities. They're building a gold bridge to Asia. We're working on an East by Northwest connection. So so going back to your comment, and I'll talk about Shannon in a minute, but going on to your comment about the Racial Equity Screen Office spun out of the work that VAFF was doing, and we needed a national organization to really represent the people of color. So there's a Black Screen Office, there's an Indigenous Screen Office, and there really wasn't a national voice to represent, you know, the people of color creatives. And so we thought, okay, this is the time. And so we spun the work out. So really the work of Racial Equity Screen Office is based on the 25 years of advocacy work that VAFF has done. We've expanded it to go national, and then we also broadened the scope so that we included all racialized groups. And so that's sort of the core. And the core of what RESO does is we really approach everything we do with an idea of shifting your mindset from of scarcity to abundance. We really feel, and we do that through cooperation and collaboration, because a lot of racialized community groups have always been pitted against each other in terms of funding and what we can do. Oh, you're the one, you know, you're the one Asian. We already have an Asian person on the show. We don't need it. So we want to break that down. So then that pits us against each other, saying, oh, we want to, you know, there's only one space for us. And we really wanted to say there's many spaces. And it was also an opportune time because I was at Banff in 2022, and everybody, even prior to that, they're looking for the diverse story. They want every diverse storyteller to come. But it felt a little, and I'm not saying that Banff felt this, but I just feel sometimes these conversations are a little extractive. You know, they want our stories, but we have to come to them, hat in hand, begging them to find value in our stories. You know, and giving us their approval before we can continue on. So with the work that RESO did, we decided, well, we want to not just talk about having a bigger table for everyone. We want to be the mechanism. We want to create the mechanism to build that bigger table so that everybody has a seat at the table. And Gold House talks about building their own house, the Gold House for everyone. And so we thought this was a perfect place to have the house and the table to be built at East by Northwest. And that's what you were talking about. So that's what people felt. They felt that here's a place where if you want our stories, you come to us and you learn about how we tell stories, how we work together, you know, and what's important about the stories that need to always stay in there and not get cut in the cutting room or whatever, because you don't quite understand the nuances of our community. So we really wanted to build a space where racial equity was centered, and the conversations came from that. And then to talk about the house, it's often these other conferences that we go, and we're invited, we're an add-on program, the diversity program. And so we go there, sort of set aside maybe put on a pedestal but set aside, and we're kind of separate. And we go to these and we have to follow your house rules. So now we're setting up a house and a table, and you come to us and you learn about our house rules. And that makes it more of a playing level field.
I love that. And what I also loved is that not only did you have creatives and artists that were making films and movies and documentaries, but you incorporated social media. Yes. Hello.
Yes.
Creatives that are on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook. I thought that was very cutting edge. I thought that was a very smart move because, you know, content creators now on those social media platforms, and I'm one of them too, they make a living doing that.
Yeah.
You know, my recent trip to Paris, like I'm making a living making content, doing that because now, because of our phones that we have all these wonderful apps that we can use to make films, short films that are on these platforms, and we can make these little stories that are like reels or TikToks or what. That was so fantastic to have all these folks sharing, and I felt so inspired to actually make more content when I listened to them. And in the green room, because I was sitting in the green room when they were all getting ready, I loved the energy they all had together, because it didn't feel like, to me, of like competition.
Yes.
But it was more, we're together.
Yeah.
Because I was doing some computer work and I had to be back in the green room, I'm like, this is really cool. Because they're all sitting on a table and they're just going through the questions, what they're going to talk about, but they're building and supporting each other up.
Yeah, and that came through in the actual panel. And that's what we wanted to say, is that we don't have to be pitted against each other, and we shouldn't be. And we should be elevating each other. And we all can take a turn, like, maybe this time we'll elevate you and I'll wait. And the next time you'll help elevate me. That's the kind of abundance mentality we want to sort of foster. And going to your point, we really wanted to be an intersection of, we talked about film, television, streaming, content, AR, VR, gaming. Because creativity is not bound by a platform. Creativity is whatever makes sense for whatever platform, for that creative idea that you want to do. And we even incorporated fashion. We had the celebrities get dressed by fashion designers. We wanted to show that the racialized creative community was very diverse. It's not silos, and if we all think together on ways to help each other, we can actually elevate each other. So that's sort of the way we approached EXNW. That is the way that we talk. When we talk, we walk the talk, and people came along, and people really, and I think that was the biggest joy that they felt, was that they did not feel like they were in competition. They felt like they were in a space where they were comfortable and they could help each other and they could be helped. And I think often asking for help is hard, because it feels like you don't know what you're doing, or it's a sign of weakness. But here it is a sign of strength, because it shows that you want to get better, and you can, and nobody knows everything. And then the other thing I talk about is the biggest film last year, prior to Barbie, was Mario, which was based on a video game.
Yeah.
The biggest television show was Among Us, based on a video game. Then Barbie came along, which was based on a toy. We're breaking down those silos of what creativity and how to tell a story can be, and where the story should live on. So that's why we intentionally programmed it to incorporate content creators, to give them that same level of respect.
Because I feel, I was having this discussion earlier, there does seem to be a little bit of a negative connotation when you use the word influencer. So, I was wondering, like, okay, creative director, digital creator, content creator, but influencer always has this thing. But I'm like, that's literally what I'm doing. Like, I have a manager for that now, because there's space for that. And like, why not? And also, like, you know, finally I'm earning more in my 40s as a model content creator than I did in my 20s, because there was no work back then. Because, you know, I would be in a sea of like Caucasian models and they would have maybe room for 1 or 2 models of color.
Yeah.
You know, but that's the way they viewed. But I really wanted to bring that up to you, is the fact that you had the content creators, you had the, you know, Jolie's designs, like beautiful dress that I even wore.
I wore.
Yeah, no, it was really truly highlighting artistry and creativity in every aspect. So from the weekend-long summit, what would you say were a few of your highlights? Because I know one would be hard. You can give me 2 or 3 that, you know, that really moved you, that really stand out for you.
Well, I wanted to go back to your question about Shannon Lee. So Shannon Lee, you know, I didn't know who the keynote speaker would be. And we were talking to Goldhouse and Bing and Jeremy, and we were banding about different ideas and different people. And one day I was just sitting in my office, just, you know, writing my emails to ask people, and I thought, you know what, and I put it out there to the universe, because anytime I'm stuck something, I said, there's a reason why we had to do it this year, this summer, at this time, and I want a sign, because I always talk about having signs. And then I get an email from Bing, and they said, Shannon's available, she's willing to come, what do you think? And I said, oh my gosh. And then then they said, it's the 50th anniversary of her father's death, which was just a few days before EXNW. And I just went, thank you. Thank you, because it all made sense. Everything sort of fell into place, and it made sense why. And of course, you know, I have a personal documentary that I was talking about. And I tell the story about when I was a child. I saw Cher and Elvis, and they were the closest thing to being Asian. And I always thought, when I was younger, I thought that was them. And then Bruce Lee came along, right? And then he had such an iconic influence on everybody, Asian or not Asian. And it just elevated how we could see ourselves. And to have, you know, his daughter there who's taking on his life work, you know, celebrating it and telling us about, it's taken her 50 years to get his show on television. So then it puts everybody into perspective. It lets people think, okay, yes, I'm struggling, but here's an icon who couldn't even get his show on at the time. So things have changed, and we need to continue that change. But I would say that Shannon was so generous with her time, so generous with the way she approached EXNW, and willing. She was out there, she was such a trooper, taking pictures with everybody who asked people, and she wasn't, you know, and she fed off of that because it really energized her. I could see that when people were telling her, she was really listening to what they're saying. And people were telling her how her father made her feel, and the way, you know, and the work that she continued on, because it must not have been easy. And when she did this speech, she talked a little bit about her brother, and I didn't think she was going to talk about that. But I felt, wow, she felt comfortable enough and safe enough to talk about something that was so painful for her. And even, like, it makes me emotional when I think about it. Because, yeah, I think the whole weekend people were just really, really generous.
Even with me, like, I asked her several times, growing up in Pakistan, so for us, we didn't get many channels, and of course I grew up watching, like, you know, all the Hollywood movies, but then you would see Bruce Lee. And then for her, listening to her address, and then these interview clips, like quite a few of them that I was familiar with. But, you know, talking, like, Bruce Lee talked about it, and then she expanded on the fact that, you know, they used to make a caricature of what it meant to be an Asian or Chinese American man, and I think it's the same with South Asian or Muslim or Pakistani or Indian. Like, in the older movies, like we were always like this caricature, or like even up until like a little while ago, you know, Abu on like Simpsons, like even who is doing the voice. I'm so grateful now that we are having these discussions that, you know, when it comes to voice work even, or even cartoons or ads, that wanting to have like racialized creatives, like whether it's like, you know, someone of a Pakistani origin or Chinese or African, that now we're going for like, yes, let us use our voice. So you have helped create this platform, like not just East by Northwest, but like these other platforms that are allowing us to have these discussions. Because when I first started, Barbara, I didn't think that I could have this discussion, because it was like, okay, we just have to push and shove and make our way through in there with our Caucasian counterparts, you know? And we knew that there was very little work for us because of how we looked, because of maybe my subtle accent or whatnot. So I really want to thank you for that. And I have the whole keynote address from Shannon like on my phone, because everything that she was saying we were hanging on to. And like you said, she was very generous with her time, because I asked her for many pictures over the weekend. I was like, can I just have one more? Someone had a book, her book, which I'm now listening to, audiobook now. Someone had her book, so I pretended that this was my book. But I wanted her to know that how much like her father affected us by being there, and as a hero, not just like a little character, but how he owned and how he talked about, like, you know, live your dream, follow it, act like it until it happens. Like how he had the courage like back then, and now finally it took her like, you know, 50 years to have her work done. And now you are carrying that work, Barbara. Like you're doing, you know, I feel like you're part of that.
Well, you know, thank you. But it's not just me. It takes a village of people, and I want to thank all the volunteers and the executives and the people who have come through the years. We've had many, many people. So yes, I've been sort of the face of it, but I've been backed by a lot of people who
100%. But it takes to, you know, you're a leader in the right way, where it's like as a visionary, and then, you know, even the opening night, I see you're there in the trenches working with everyone. I remember I was there for your opening night speech, and even at the closing gala. I want to come back to some highlights for you from that weekend, because there's quite a few for me. For me, Shannon's speech, like I loved listening to Zarka Nawaz. And also after the closing gala, when everyone was in the room dressed up, and there was a vibe, the location was amazing, the decor, it was very high. I felt like we were in Hollywood. Like this was like a very, you know, for your first event for East by Northwest, first event, you guys set the bar really high.
We did, and that's tough, because how do you top that? But we wanted to show the community that we're not to be put in the corner. We are, it was making a statement. We are here, come join us. If you don't, we're gonna carry on, and you're gonna miss the boat, because we are the global majority. Our stories are resonating. You know, diaspora racialized stories are in demand. And if you want to tell it authentically, you need to work with us. So learn how to work with us. And we're here to show you how. And that was one of the things that we are here to share. We are here to elevate people. You know, a lot of people flew in to meet Goldhouse. We knew that, and we welcomed them, because our networks and our relations, it's not something that we are trying to keep to ourselves, because we think that there will be all kinds of conversations. And through Andrew Wee, who was one of our winners, he got us to bring in Janet Chua, who's, Imagine Entertainment, Ron Howard and Brian Glazer's company.
Wow.
So some work is happening from that. Pitches happened. Unbelievable opportunity, and that's what we need to do. We need to share it because, we might bring in somebody big and people will come and meet them. It might not be a great match. Maybe it's somebody who's mid-size or smaller. Like, what we want to show people is that we have a network. We have the talent. Come join us. The highlights were so many. I don't really think I want to name one. Bing was unbelievable. Bing and Jeremy's speech were unbelievable. But then so was Elder Larry Grant, just talking about, the Indigenous and Chinese communities and the history there. A lot of people have never heard that before. A lot of young people have never heard that before. And there's so many stories coming from that. So yes, it's great to have these big names, but within our own community, there's so many great stories and people that we really need to show to the young people that stories and content can be made from that. So is there one? I wish I could have sat in every one of those talks. But of course, as you said, I'm in the trenches and I'm running around trying to make sure everything looks good, is executed well, because it's all reputation, right? A lot of this, with people want to come back, if we get funding again. A lot of people was a wait and see if we would get funding. We got a lot of small pockets of funding, so that was a lot of work, to make sure we're so grateful, but it's a lot of work when you have a lot of sponsors and making sure that we meet all the requirements that they've asked us for. So we hope that we step up, a bigger sponsor steps up so that we can top what we've done. But it was a great first edition. We have some ideas cooking for next year. But I would say we had a lot of people back east fly in. Like Tanya from Real World. We had Anna Gunnarsson, from the head of OCAD, which is the Ontario College of Arts and Design. Big. We had Real Asian there. Just so many people that came out. Black Women Film. We had delegates coming from all over. So it was really supported. And of course, Canadian Independent Screen Film and also BIPOC TV and film were there. So yeah, we had a lot.
I had so many people on my social networks ask me, why did I not know this was going on? Because so many people wanted to be there, to get involved, they were in awe of the talent and the way everything was put together, how amazing it looked. And of course, I was supposed to be there only for the closing gala event, but the panel
she was there.
And the panel discussions and everything was so truly amazing and moving. And I knew it's like I ran into Panta, who I haven't seen in so long, and she's doing so well. She's in LA, and she was literally there, and got to see Bing's speech the opening night, and then she was flying out later that evening. We had so many beautiful conversations, and thanks to you and thanks to the whole East by Northwest team. Now, I know that this is a very cliche question to ask, but what are your hopes for East by Northwest over the next 5 years to a decade? Like, if anything was possible, what are you aiming towards?
Well, we would like some proof of concepts. So we would like to have deals made at East by Northwest, deals for television content, film, and that would be made and then would have success across the globe. That is what and then what we want to do is we want to find, or in the screen industry, television content, everything, it's like every time you approach a project, it's like, what do you call that? You're like redesigning, you're like starting from scratch and reinventing the wheel. Sorry. So you're like reinventing the wheel, but we want to have built infrastructure so that it makes it a lot easier And we want to have proof of concept so that we can replicate the process, so that creatives are just being creative. They don't have to worry about all the, the infrastructure and all the things that kind of take away from their creativity. So for me, EXNW is a way that people can come together. Some people are great at doing the infrastructure parts. Match them up with the really creative people, and then just more content that tells the stories of our communities, and in a way that can be shared across the globe, because that's what we need. That's where social cohesion starts from. We learn about each other by sharing stories with each other. It breaks down all the stereotypes and the preconceptions that we have about each other when we can share things that we're like, oh, I didn't expect that from this person, or she or he or they are, have more to them than I thought, and I just saw this, and so storytelling is the key to everything, to building community, building better societies. And the world's getting smaller, we need to learn about each other.
And I also have to mention this, and thank you for having me as the host, as the MC, with Yin, my co-MC for the closing gala. And that led to, with me being at East by Northwest, just sort of mentioning how being at a weekend like that, what happens is I was able to get Byron Mann as a guest on the show. Nice. I was so grateful.
He's great.
He's so fantastic, and got to see, we watched his new film, The Modelizer, and connect with so many amazing, talented artists and creatives in the room whose energy and their discussions, and when they accepted awards, like how much they inspired me. And secondly, from being there, I was asked to MC the 40th anniversary of Vancouver World Trade Center Vancouver, and the Export Awards, which was such an honor. But it's leading from that weekend.
Yeah.
That is like the impact. I just want you to know that you can have. I understand there's a whole team behind, but my dealings have been with you and like a few other, but it is so powerful and so strong how this can impact. And it's the same from MAM, and like my film going to VAFF and interviewing you, and then meeting you and meeting all these like racialized creatives back in the day, like Jeff Chiba Stearns, like all these Namisha Mukherjee, like all these people I met at VAFF.
Yeah. I say most people, especially in Vancouver, who are in the creative industry or the screen industry, have come through VAFF at some point, have had some touch point. And that's what we wanted to, because when I started it, I knew people were just doing things on their own, but now we have a community, a strong community, a community that people are there to help each other and have had success. And I saw that you were the MC, and I was like, oh, I'm so happy for her. I wonder if that came about from EXNW. So I was really happy to know that it was something,
Joyce and Rochelle, they both somehow found me on LinkedIn, and they both contacted me at the exact same time, a few minutes apart, and they were just like, we want you, are you available? And Joyce was truly fantastic.
Yeah,
and
she was very good.
And saying that, how being very clear about, and I felt so honored that, because sometimes people can have this idea of like, okay, if you're doing something with VAFF, then maybe someone who's South Asian is not going to get it. Like to be on that stage in that room, I was honored, and I wanted to really make you proud, and then be like, we have this big talent pool, like Shannon Lee in the room. Like when I first met her, I fumbled on my words because I couldn't talk. I'm like, wow, why am I being nervous? But it's because the little kid inside of me who grew up watching her father's work and imitating with my cousins and brothers his moves is that little fangirl is like doing backflips right now. So it was truly amazing, and I can't wait to see what's going to happen next year with East by Northwest. But I want to talk about VAFF
Okay.
Because
can I make one comment about Shannon first?
Yes, please do.
When Shannon accepted the award, we gave her the award for the work that she did.
Yes.
To carry on the legacy of her father. And she talked about how hard it was and if she felt she was up for the task. Because he was such larger than life, and everybody had stories about how he touched them, even though he may not have met them, and that she had this responsibility to carry on that legacy. And that's, I think, part of that really touched people. When I talked to people, they were talking about her generous and graciousness, but her weight of the responsibility she felt. And I think she talked a lot about to people, and on stage she said this is the first award. She had gone around the world, collected a lot of awards for her father, but this was the award that we gave for the work she did to carry on that legacy. And so we were like, I was like, oh my gosh, you know, like it never dawned on me that these awards were always about, you know,
for her father.
Yeah. But for me, I always felt like, you know, would he have stayed in the minds of everybody and the world if there wasn't somebody shepherding that, somebody taking responsibility, and also being the daughter, right? How much more responsibility to get it right. And I really feel like she's done so much to get it right.
And I'm so grateful that she spoke so vulnerably as well, because I never even thought of, her father and her brother, and she was so candid. Yeah. You know, we were all so so moved.
I just felt like, I hope it was because she felt safe in the space that we created.
Yeah. Truly amazing. And thank you, Barbara. I'm so grateful. Like, it was right on schedule. The fact I was like, I saw on Christina Lau's page, because she was promoting the event so much, and I'm like, she's like, yeah, Barbara, you need to like do something with East by Northwest. So I was contacting through Instagram. I'm like, who's in charge? They're like, Barbara Lee. Oh, I know Barbara Lee. So I Facebooked you, and I'm like trying to find your information. Do I have your email, your contact? And I'm so happy that this happened.
You know, and we did send it out. So for the people that in your social media and your networks who didn't hear about it, I'm really sorry. We sent it out. We had delegates. We sent it to every organization, and we said we will give you a free pass to your delegates. The only thing we ask is that you tag us and promote it so that we can get more people. It's just that when it's the first year, people don't know about it. There's so much clutter on social media sometimes, and so many events happening. We chose July because it was the least crowded of all the events that were happening around the city and everything. But yes, definitely, you know, any leading up to it, we'll do a much better job, but we also rely on the community. So everybody out there to spread the word and to bring a friend, you know, commit to go and to commit to bring a friend, because they will thank you.
Completely. I was there the whole weekend, like all through all the panel discussions. I think in between I came to walk my dog for a bit, and that was it. Yeah. Okay, so we have a little bit of time left. I know you have to run, and we're also here. We have another guest coming, but I really want to talk about the 27th year. Wow, 27 years of VAFF. Yeah. Vancouver Asian Film Festival.
The first Asian Film Festival in Canada. Yeah.
Wow. So how does it feel to have 27 years? And tell us the dates of VAFF.
VAFF is November 2nd to the 12th. In person is the 2nd to the 4th. The 4th. And then we have another full day on the 11th at Scotia Theatre. So the first weekend is at International Village Cineplex, and then the second weekend, the Saturday, is on November 11th at Scotia Theatre. And then we have our Ovation Awards, which is the VAFF Awards, plus our Diversity in Film Awards, which is November 12th, Sunday at BMO Theatre in Olympic Village.
That's amazing.
Yeah. And
3 locations, spectacular.
We have the biggest program we've ever had, unbelievable films. We're opening up with a Malaysian film. We have our centerpiece film is A Great Divide, starring Ken Jeong.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, produced by my friend Brian Yang, who also did Snakehead and Linsanity, and Jeff Yang, who we had. Jeff was a reporter for, I think it was the Washington Post. So he's been, and he's also the father of Hudson Yang, who is the star of Fresh Off the Boat. So really great films. We have Eliminate Hate films, talking about newcomers and sort of, people settling in a new country after being refugees. We have some great Korean horror films. And we have 6 West Coast tales. Some local filmmakers doing unbelievable work. We're highlighting them, as always, because we want to celebrate the talent that we have here. So lots to choose from. 27, and great panels. We have great panels to learn about the film industry, to learn about storytelling, to pitch. We have pitch sessions as well. So we have a lot that's virtual and in person. Please check out our website, I believe is launching today. So VAFF.org.
So right on time. Yeah. We got you here on the launch day. Yes, fantastic.
Yes, it's 27 years. It's a long time. We've built a great community. We've elevated so much talent, and so many people have made careers in this industry that they can tell their parents, "Don't worry, I got it. I can, pay my rent and everything like that." And so I think it's just, by the time the film festival comes around, I'm just like so exhausted. But after the 10 days, I'm so re-energized, just like how you felt after EXNW. It's just the re-energizing of seeing people so excited, feeling valued, and having their stories, a home for their stories. It's just re-energizes you for the next year.
You know what? I love our panel discussions, because it was through a panel discussion that I was encouraged to produce and create my own content. This was in 2010. This was part of the South Asian Film Festival, VAFF, that Agam and Patricia created back in the day. And I remember Monica Dio saying on a panel with Zaf Peru, and both of them talking about, especially Monica, that you're going to have to go out there and create your own content instead of waiting for the audition, waiting to book the job, waiting to be chosen, that we are the ones who are going to have to get out there.
Yeah.
And at that moment in the audience, I was sitting and I'm like, how am I going to do that? Like, I don't know what to write. I don't know what to say. Like, I'm just better at tell me what to do. But the seed was planted. So I find those panel discussions, like, Zarka Nawaz, who's Pakistani Canadian, Shannon, like her keynote address, and everyone else that I listened to, like, so invigorating.
Yeah.
Because you hear their live passion. Like, yes, I love watching films, but when I get to hear the filmmaker, the actor, the writer talk, then it makes it feel possible for me.
Yeah. No, I think for everybody. And I always say that these panels, even if you touch one person and it plants a seed and activates them, because I always end everything with a call to action. What is the activation that the speaker has for themselves and also the audience members? Because we cannot be passive in the work that we do. We always have to be active and activating. It's a verb. And it's not, it's not sit back and just wait for somebody to make you a star. You can make yourself a star. And this is something that we really talk about. And I talk about this in all the different organizations that I've built, is that we need to have a star making mechanism. We need, especially the way the industry is going, if you have a star or a name or something, you will get funding. If you don't, that's a power, and that's something that we want to do, is elevate and make stars, because we understand that there's the business behind it, and the business is that you need to have name recognition, you need to have a following, you need to have some way that people were like, oh, I want to see this film or television show or whatever it is that's with so-and-so in it. And so we have to start doing that. And that's why we're elevating. So I'm so happy because you're one of the stars we would love to elevate, and that you've always been so generous with your time and talents as well.
And I'm so grateful for you, Barbara, and so grateful for the work you do, everyone who works with you. I had nothing but love and supportive vibrations from everyone. The volunteers, the people who were there, like the interns, like everyone at East by Northwest. It felt like a love fest. It was just so supportive, positive, and inspiring. Like we were all there together. It's like, in a team together.
And one of the things you do is you feed them well. You give them good
We
food.
had great food and great locations.
Yes.
Barbara, congratulations on the success of cut. Okay, doing again. Okay. Barbara, congratulations on the success of East by Northwest and 27 years of VAFF, Vancouver Asian Film Festival. Has there been a particular story that stands out than the rest that has been a breakthrough story, whether through East by Northwest, Racial Equity Screen Office, or VAFF over the years that you would like to share with our audience?
Oh, that's a tough one. I have to think about this. 27 years is a long time.
It's a long time, and you've impacted a lot of lives.
Yeah, and there's so many. I would say there's a theme. The theme is gratitude, and I would say a lot of people who never saw themselves on the screen or felt that their stories were of value. And it's not one, it's multiple times that I've heard that this was the first time that they saw themselves represented authentically. And it gave them hope that they could do the same, and they could be either up on the screen or be the voice behind the stories that talk about the racialized realities, being racialized in Canada and the US. There's so many. I mean, I told a story about Jeff Chan, who is now a director, who had no idea he even wanted to be a director, but came to MAM and on a whim and just to help a friend, and now it's his career.
And MAM is the Mighty Asian
Movie Making Marathon. Jeff Chiba Stearns, who is like an Emmy Award-winning animator, we showed his first short film, Who Are You Anyways?
I saw that, I was there.
Yes, and he was like, I kind of hid my Asianness, but people kept asking me, and through that experience with VAFF, he really embraced it, and he's built an incredible career. I mean, I'd like to think that VAFF is a little bit of that. I mean, we're just sort of that little spark that's already in somebody. We just help either, give it a little bit of tenderness, maybe shield it from the winds, so that they can stoke the flames and get their career going. But I would say there's not this one. I think there's just many.
It's several decades, but those stories that those stories you've shared are very potent, and congratulations on the success of East by Northwest.
Thank
and also
you.
The upcoming VAFF, 27 years of Vancouver Asian Film Festival, which is the first racialized film festival in Canada.
Yes. It's been a great ride. We need new young people. I can't be doing this forever, so I would say please come out, and if it calls to you, resonates to you, step in, step up. You can start small, and you never know where it goes to.
Well, I know you have somewhere to run to.
Thank you.
We could certainly speak for hours. I'm so grateful that you were able to make time for us today. And I'm so happy to have you here back on the red couch.
Yes.
Thank you so much for joining us today, Barbara. If you enjoyed the episode today, make sure to let us know. I'm your host, Zara Durrani, and that was Barbara Lee, founder of Vancouver Asian Film Festival, RESO Racial Equity Screen Office, East by Northwest, and Eliminate Hate. Thank you for watching, and I look forward to speaking to you soon. Thank you.